Hi there, I'm Matthew Rosenberg, author of comics like Uncanny X-Men, The Punisher, New Mutants, Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, We Can Never Go Home, a whole lot of stuff, but none of that is why I came on the internet today. I came here today to talk to you about Hawkeye Freefall. It is my brand new comic with the amazing Otto Schmidt on art, and it tells the story of Clint Barton, who, as you know, is the best Avenger. And it's about Clint as he gets in over his head in his war with the Hood and a dangerous new Ronin. It's full of action and sexy parts and mysteries and jokes and super cool guest stars, and Otto's drawing it, so it's amazingly beautiful. And if you want to pick it up, the folks at Challengers have it in stock now at both of their locations, Bucktown and River North. So head to either Challengers location and grab a copy of Hawkeye Freefall #1, and Happy New Year.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting, comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the Challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
From us, and, as you just heard, from Matthew Rosenberg.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Thanks you, Matt. Thanks you, Matthew. Thanks you, Matt, too. Even though that dude was sick, he still did that video for us.
Very considerate.
I mean, it was a video. You guys just heard the audio. You people, you folks, you listener, just heard the audio. But there was a video component as well. Mm-hmm. And even though that man was sick, he still did that for us and sent us. I think we talked. Did we talk about this?
The
We talked
lithograph?
about this. Yeah,
We probably did.
but did we have it when we recorded last? How would we know?
I don't know.
Oh
Anyway,
no, we got the lithograph first. Then we got the video days later. Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
There's a
Okay.
Hawkeye Freefall lithograph signed by Matthew Rosenberg that you can win free in a raffle by buying a copy of Hawkeye Freefall #1 at either Challengers location.
Yeah, but only up through Tuesday of this week.
And we're gonna draw a winner then.
Yeah, well, we're gonna draw the winner after, I guess, Tuesday night. You need to bring the entries from River North.
If I can carry them all, Patrick, there's so many.
Well,
I might have to call
look, there are in fact
a very large van.
there's more than 0 that I'm aware of.
It's true.
So
It is what you call a positive integer.
the funny part about that is when the person who had bought Hawkeye and thus earned a free raffle entry,
Yes.
we have that actual raffle box
Yes.
that we were going to use for different purposes.
Yeah. A shelf, basically.
Yeah, for the receipt printer, but we didn't want to do that.
Nope.
So we're using it for a raffle box. So when it dropped in, it flipped over, so all the details were up. And I'm like, I can turn that over. And the customer said, no, I don't care. I'm like, then I turned it over, and he's like, boy, it looks real sad. I go, wait, let me make it perfectly centered in the middle, like it landed just there. Because, it doesn't have, we're not using a lock for that.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
So it was just that one, it looks like I said it's like when the bartender puts a $5 tip in their own tip jar to start the night out.
Yep.
That's what it looks like. But yeah, the Hawkeye drawing runs through Tuesday at the end of business at both locations.
Yeah.
And we are giving out Thor trading cards, and there's rumored to be a rare Donny Cates card.
Gasp.
Now, retailers had said that it was a bonus 5th card in the 4-card pack. Mm-hmm. So I did look at every pack we had at River North, and we only ever had 4.
Bigger.
We only had 4.
I gave away some on New Year's Day at Bucktown, so I mean, maybe somebody got it.
Maybe.
I hope they did. I hope that's cool if they did.
Well, if you recall, as a youth yourself, me finding where the special card is doesn't mean I'm just opening it and keeping it. It's so I could
give it a good home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You were the benefit of that.
I was.
Multiple times,
and
I believe.
I still have all those cards. No, they got thrown away probably 20 years ago.
All those very expensive Marvel superhero trading card foil cards.
Yep. That I'm sure I could get completely replaced any day of the week by the people who come in asking to sell their Marvel trading cards. So many people.
So many people.
It's just, there's thousands of them every year that are coming into comic shops asking if comic shops buy comic cards. I wonder if anyone does. I wonder if anyone
In
is
the
saying
year 2020, who
they're
knows?
doing so great.
Who knows?
I buy these stupid Marvel card collections for a few bucks, and I flip them for $180 online. Someone's got to have a scheme for it. It's the comics industry. Everyone's got a scheme for something.
Something, for sure. So, Dal, it's 2020.
That's what I'm told.
This is the first episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcast Network in Chicago. And we are not going to talk about the pitfalls of subscription services or bad subscriber stories.
Okay, cool.
It's a whole new podcast.
Whole new year.
No, it's just I don't have anything bad to say this time.
Oh, that's cool.
I think people will enjoy that break.
Probably, I will.
I do have a quick rant that you've already heard this week
Okay.
about someone who had special ordered the Star Wars Rise of Kylo Ren comical book.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew we were getting more in because you had placed an advance reorder, and
Did,
they were
thankfully.
coming in
Yeah.
earlier this week. And a guy called up and said, "Hey, do you have it?" I'm like, "No, we don't, but we're getting it next week. We're getting it for sure. I can take your number." "Oh, man, can I get two?" I'm like, fine. You can get two. So they come in,
Uh-huh.
and you call and leave a message on this person's machine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, on the voicemail
Right.
machine.
No one has a machine. Well,
No.
the smartphone machine.
Yeah. So you leave a message. The next day, he calls and I'm working, and he gets me. He's like, "Yeah, last week I placed an order for some Kylo Ren books." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm assuming you got a call." "What?" So as I'm talking, I get the special order book out and look and see that he's called. And I'm like, "Yeah, they came in yesterday. You got a call." "Oh, all right. Yeah, well, I'll come in then." "Yeah, you would have known that, man." And we've complained about the whole I don't check messages thing,
Uh-huh.
and it's just people don't mean it this way, but I take it as my time is meaningless, their time is valuable.
Uh-huh.
They wanted this thing. Why didn't we get this thing? Why don't they have this thing? They would have listened to their messages. They would have gotten it. They probably saw the phone ringing, didn't recognize the number, and didn't pick it up.
Sure.
Fine, I do that all the time. But you know what I do? I listen to the message.
Yeah. If someone leaves a message, I'm just going to listen to it just to find out for sure who it is.
And then he comes in right away, and he's like, "Can I get more than two?" "No, you absolutely cannot." So then he has to take the two that we'd set aside for him
Why do you need more than two?
to the shelf
To get the best
to look
copies.
over every single copy.
Yeah.
And all I thought was, oh my god,
You did all this work for someone who's never going to read these comics.
you're not.
He's 100% going to sell them online.
Going back to
Yep.
one of Dalbush's quotes from last week,
Yep.
you don't care about comics, you just care about covers.
Yep. Never even going to open those books.
Yeah, man.
What a
like,
waste of time.
for every time that I immediately think, oh, this guy's a speculator, whatever, blah, 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 I've been wrong. It's, hey, they've got a friend that needs a copy, or they're giving one to a nephew who's in the hospital, or whatever. Like, they're yet legitimately buying a second copy for another person.
You've definitely been wrong on that before. I am 100% right all the time with my first gut instinct. Always.
Is it the same gut instinct, or it's a judgment call based on the person?
It's a judgment call, but
Okay.
99 times out of 100, they're speculators.
Yeah.
The times where someone, again, like the things you've mentioned, like, oh, they need to get one for a sick relative or a friend at work who just can't get out of work or whatever. That's so unbelievably rare compared to the amount of people who are just like, no, they're just buying as many copies as they can because it's going for some multiple of cover price online. And
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
a store that has it,
Yeah.
and we're selling it for cover price, so they're going to buy as many as they can to increase the money they're going to make. They would buy 100 if we had them.
But the whole, I'm buying it for sick relative most of the time is a lie as well.
Oh, of course.
But then there's time you think it's a lie, and then they'll immediately call and be like, "Hey, sis, yeah, tell Billy that I got the book." I'm like, okay, that's, even if they're lying, it's it's
ones,
deserved.
Generally, the ones that people are buying, you can tell because it's like, no sick child needs
A bagged and boarded pristine copy of Kylo Ren #1.
that specific issue of Walking Dead or whatever. Like, come on, just come on.
The Kylo Ren book is such a weird thing because we sold more of that than we do of the normal Star Wars comic.
Way more. People
And
keep coming and asking
2
for
comes out this week, and we're not...
I'll see if we can get more.
Yeah, we don't have enough.
Nah, probably not.
I mean, we have plenty for subscribers because barely anyone's down for it, but...
Yeah. I mean, our subscriber numbers did jump before issue 1 came out.
Right.
Which is why I reordered a bunch more of issue 1. Yeah, we'll see. And with anything, we've fallen into this trap so many times, and we might fall into it again. You know, number 1 sells super great. Oh, God, we're so caught short on number 2. No one cares about number 2.
Yeah, right.
That guy
You
who
fool.
bought 2 copies of issue 1, he's not going to buy 2 copies of 2.
Yeah.
2's not worth anything. 1's worth something. 2 isn't.
True that.
Yeah, that's something that we'll probably talk about as we start talking about the top 100 comics for 2019. The ways that, you know, issue 1's chart and then, like, the sales drop. I went through, and I guess maybe we'll talk about this right now. I went through a list of everything that we sold at Challengers Red, comics-wise, in 2019.
Yeah, you left it in the Dropbox folder. I looked at it today.
Yeah, because I created it on the register computer, and I needed to move it over to the work computer.
Sure.
So putting it in Dropbox is the fastest
No,
way to do
that's
it.
fine. I thought it was... I mean, I got to look at it.
So what I have to do with that is it's a listing of every single SKU, every single item code that we have for a comic book, and what we sold of it in 2019. And the way that we chart sales for the top 100 is not based on individual covers. It's a combined total. Because while there's probably some people that will buy multiple covers, there's also times where, for something like House of X, someone will just pick the covers that they like the best. So that shouldn't be a penalty against the sales of the main cover. We would add all this together and then say,
Right.
this is what we
Yeah.
sold for that comic.
Yeah, that's fair.
To do that means I have to go through the entire list and constantly add together all of the different covers. So every issue of Batman that comes out that has multiple covers, got to add those together. Every
Yeah,
issue of
and-
House of X and Powers of 10 and
Something like
everything else.
Spawn 300 that had, 16
Yeah.
covers, but it's not like they're 16 line items in a row. You got to hunt all over that chart for
No,
those.
they were 16 line items in a row. I do everything off. I sort it alphabetically.
Oh, it wasn't
it's just-
sorted by sales.
No, I mean you could, but I
Right,
just
okay.
it's a spreadsheet. I just resort it. So
Got it.
it's still time consuming. It took me a few hours.
Oh, of course.
But it's you can just collate a bunch of different fields together and then it'll have a total for you. But I mean I bring that up because in doing so I'm constantly looking at consecutive issues of comics to see where the sales are, and it's insane how many books have an average drop between issue 1 and 2 of 50%. Like, that's crazy to me in my head. There was a book, and I don't know if I want to call it out because I almost don't feel like it's fair to the creators, but I will bring it up because it's a book that I don't think is a bad book by any stretch, and it's certainly one that had a bunch of buzz. Marked number 1, we sold 20 copies.
Okay.
Okay? By issue, I want to say 3, we had lost 75% of sales.
Yeah.
Five
That's
copies.
That's
We sold.
normal.
But that's crazy that that's
no,
normal.
I agree.
Like, and I mean, it had only been a few days of issue 4, but we were down 90% from issue 1 to issue 4.
Yeah.
Basically on the first 6 days of sales, which for most books is all you're gonna sell. So seeing that across the industry, seeing how many books consistently drop to unsustainable levels by like issue 4 is nuts and frankly terrifying. Regardless of how well certain books are charting and how well sales categories are, the fact that so many books become unsellable within the first 6 issues of release is like, I don't even know why you release an issue 7 of anything anymore.
So
There's no point to it.
This list went up on our website, and I did a little
You did some
Twittering
analysis.
yesterday about it, but here's where it went bad.
Uh-huh.
To do a Twitter thread, Twitter does this thing. They have a little button that says, "Hey, you want to add to this?"
Uh-huh.
But if you click that, you're starting a sub-thread in your thread.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, it's not like a linear list where you can look through it. You have to dig through comments to find
Oh.
everything I posted, which is not the best way to read it. But,
Sorry, Patrick.
so it was up, and club member Ryan Voss had noticed and commented that Silver Surfer Black, probably his favorite book of the year,
Sure.
number 1 made it at number 66. Number 2 isn't on the list.
Nope.
And it's like, they did 150,000 copies of number 1 through all the different covers and things. They didn't do 150,000 copies of number 2.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
No. And again, that's so many books. It's not confined to like one publisher or one genre. It's everything. Like, it's rare, and we'll call them out on here, the books that don't see a massive, consistent drop between issues before starting to level out around like 5 or 6.
I mean, if you look at, and we're just, I guess, taking examples now.
Yeah, let's just jump into it.
Little Bird number 1 was our highest selling Image comic of the year. It clocked in at number 16 of our top 100.
Mm-hmm.
Little Bird number 2 was number 84.
Yep.
And that's it for the list.
Yeah. 3 through 5, which had plenty of months to sell. Like, there's books on here where it's like, well, they came out really late in the year or just at the tail end of last year, so the numbers aren't 100% accurate based on total sales. It's sales for January 1st to December 31st of 2019. That's all the sales that we count. But there's other ones where it's like Little Bird was right in the middle of the year. Like,
yeah,
all of the sales that we sold for Little Bird were completely contained within 2019. It's just, it dropped. It dropped consistently. We'll start with the top 100 comics, I think, not just because I was talking about it before, but because it's the one that kind of is the least to talk about.
It's the one that's already on my list. I mean, I have that list on top.
We'll end up calling out a few things in here, but in general, every year the top 100 is a cluster of a few things. Like, in years past, it's been, once you separate out Batman comics, all the Brian K. Vaughan stuff, and like one other thing, there's not much list left to talk about.
Yeah, for example, DC Comics.
Sure.
If I may.
You may.
They had our
I'll
number
allow
one.
it.
They had our number 1 book of the year, which was Detective number 1000.
Yeah, which is,
across all covers.
as a quick parenthetical, still a book that we got caught with way too many
Oh
copies
yeah,
of.
we have a short box in the back hallway
Ridiculous.
full of it.
So you could still have the number 1 book for us, and also maybe not make us that much money because we thought it was going to be even bigger than that. But anyway, that's our fault.
So, DC Comics, out of the top 100 books in this list, they have 48 places on this list.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Which is great.
Sure, except?
Do you know how many of these are not Batman books?
3?
1.
Doomsday Clock?
No, I count that as a Batman book because
Do you
Batman
really?
is in it, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I wouldn't think of that as a
Okay,
Batman book.
because I counted Doomsday Clock and Heroes in Crisis as Batman books.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't. I
And
would consider
DC's.
those DC Universe titles.
Okay, the only one book that didn't have any Batman in it at all was Superman Year 1, number 1.
Okay.
Everything else, and like I said, I counted Doomsday Clock, Heroes in Crisis,
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't count like
DC's
DC.
Year of the Villain,
I wouldn't count
Deceased.
Yeah, no, I
Hey,
wouldn't.
Batman was in it, man.
But I mean, there's things that Batman's in, and any DC Universe book is going to have Batman in it. Of course it is. It's Batman. But it's not like a Batman starring book. It's just a book that Batman's in. So I wouldn't count that in the way that we've counted it in years past, where if Batman isn't in the title, I wouldn't count it as a Batman book. Unless you count Detective Comics as well, which of course you would, because it's a Batman comic. The full title is Detective Comics starring Batman.
However, there are no Detective Comics on this list.
They're number 1.
Oh yeah, okay, you're right. You're right.
They're at number
Yeah,
1.
that's fine. What about Year of the Villain? He was one third of that was a Batman story.
Sure, but 2/3 weren't.
But that's a Batman book.
I don't consider it that.
Okay.
If you want to categorize it as that, that's fine.
Well,
but
I did.
I wouldn't.
Also, he was in Little Bird number 1.
So this year, obviously, again, we've got all the Batman stuff. Tom King's Batman charts consistently, and Batman for the last, basically since New 52. The list is always going to be heavy in the monthly Batman, or the Batman solo book. Because it's Batman, and Batman is the majority of what people buy at DC. Ordinarily, it would also be Brian K. Vaughan stuff, but with Saga on hiatus, Barrier coming out last year, the only thing we have on here from him is a few Paper Girls issues, and every Paper Girls issue charts in our top 100.
Yeah, every issue of Paper Girls that came out this year made the list. The only BKV book that didn't make this list was his Walking Dead book.
Yeah, Which, I mean, part of me would say, like, we didn't have a lot of time with it, but also it just did not sell that great.
Yeah.
Compared to what else is on the bottom of the charts. So the thing that kind of filled in the rest of the chart, there's a few other things that we'll talk about, but the main thing that's new for this year is all of the Hickman X-Men stuff. The Jonathan Hickman X-Men books, just the ones that he wrote, take up the top... it takes up 14 of the top 15 spots in our list.
Yep.
Spots 2 through 15 are just X-Men, House of X, and Powers of 10. Then when you expand it out to the top 20, it's...
X-Force, number 1.
16 of the top 20 spots are Hickman X-Men stuff. 18 of the top 25 are Hickman... or are overall X-Men family books.
Not Hickman written,
yeah. But that's insane to me, and it just keeps going. Like
25 of the X books, or 25 spots on this list, a full 1/4 of this list are House, Powers, and the X books that came after.
Yeah, but it's just crazy to me that House of X and Powers of 10 collectively are spots 3 through 14 with no breaks. Nothing else is in there but House of X and Powers of 10. Like, that's the amazing thing that we were talking about when those books were coming out. Was not just that those books sold well, is that they sold so consistently well. The ability for them to be in the same kind of bar of sales is unprecedented. Nothing else on this list is like that. It's not like all the Batman books are in one section of the chart. They're all up and down, depending on like where they were coming out in the year, or what crossover, or what special issue, or whatever.
It's funny because the highest charting Batman is not Tom King.
Yeah, the Flash crossover ones I think charted better. I want to say.
Yeah, so
right?
The first Batman is at number 38,
64.
and the last one on the list is at number 94.
Yeah, and again, that's every book. I mean, pick anything that has multiple issues on here. Like the Paper Girls ones are not all in one section. There's stuff in between them. There's things around them.
I mean, they're real close.
They are, but there's definitely books that jumped in there. And that's also kind of rare. That consistency of the same people are buying Paper Girls every month. They don't miss an issue. But like even Batman, tons of ups and downs for those books.
I'm just going to shoot this little Image fact out since we're right by it.
Sure.
Image only had 9 spots in the top 100, and those 9 spots were only 3 titles, and 5 of them were Little Girls. I'm sorry, Paper Girls. Little Girls is on the graphic novel chart.
Yep.
It was Little Bird, Spawn, and Paper Girls. That's all that made it in our top 100 for Image.
Yeah, so the rest of the chart is Marvel and DC, and again, besides calling out all the Batman stuff, which is fairly typical, and the X-Men stuff, which is brand new, but also something that's been discussed to death in the industry, nothing else on here was a huge surprise to me. Things like J.J. Abrams' Spider-Man #1, charting because no one had read it yet. Stuff like Absolute Carnage, War of the Realms, Savage Avengers, which I'd forgotten launched as big as it did.
Yeah, compared to what it sells now.
Yeah, right now it sells less than half, but it launched huge in a way that I was like, God damn, was that the number? And I guess it was. Silver Surfer Black #1, Marvel Comics 1000, Spider-Man Life Story. But yeah, I mean it's mostly #1s and a few like event series.
The weird thing is like there's titles that are clearly a victim of us not being able to get them, because Absolute Carnage 1 and 3 are on the list, 2 is not. We could not get enough 2s to sell it.
Yeah.
That's why like Powers of X 2 and 3 are the weakest selling of the...
Because we were out of them for the longest time.
Because we couldn't get them.
Yeah. Yeah. But otherwise, I think we did fairly well with this stuff. There's very few things I'm looking at on here thinking like, God damn, I wish we had more of those. Like, I'm sure on the top 300, I could probably call out a few things like that. But in general, yeah, it's just a shame how much of this stuff is either... How much of it is just issue 1s, where it's like, oh, King Thor #1. King Thor #2 didn't make the list.
No.
Daredevil 1. Daredevil 2 didn't make the list. And on like that, where there's a few
You're
books.
the villain #1. You're the villain #2 didn't make the list.
What? So yeah, that's the comic stuff. There's
2 issues of Flash in here, and it's just the Batman crossover ones, that's all.
It's scary to me how much of this is, as always, with the single comic sales, clustered around specific brands. Because if those brands weaken in any way or disappear, I don't know what replaces them. Like, we've talked about it before. You look at this list and you think of the writers involved. You take away from this list Brian K. Vaughan, Tom King, Jonathan Hickman. How many books do you lose off of this list?
Tom King has 28 spots
Yeah.
on this list.
And then you add in whatever Hickman wrote for X-Men this year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another, on this list, like 17 books probably, at least. Not even counting the stuff that the halo effect of him being in charge of the X-Men franchise sold books like Marauders and X-Factor and Fallen Angels and Excalibur. And then Brian K. Vaughan, who would have a bunch more books on this list if he had put more books out in 2019. I don't know who the other people are who are going to fill that void when those things eventually stop working or are not part of the industry as much. Like, I don't know who on this list. I'm not seeing books that are necessarily creator-selling books.
Yeah,
you know
I mean,
what I mean?
if we look back at the 2018 list, how many Jonathan Hickman books were in the top 100 then? Any?
Probably some. I don't know. There's probably a book or two.
I don't know, but it's like
You're
seeing,
right.
You're not seeing East of West on this list, right?
X-Men sells 6 times what East of West sells for us.
Yeah. Do you think that Decorum can sell better because
Yes.
of, like, did you send, hey, you're getting X-Men, did you see that Decorum is coming?
No, I sent it to people who got East of West.
Sure.
Because they're the likeliest ads. But, I mean, we'll point it out when people are buying X-Men. We'll have a stack of Decorum to go, hey...
You want a sci-fi book about assassins?
If you like his X-Men stuff, here's a Hickman book you can just jump onto right now. Issue 1. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Anything else from the top 100 comics you wanted to talk about, Patrick?
No, I covered my things about the DC being the top spot, 48 spots, 1 non-Batman to my accounting, 28 Tom Kings. Marvel only has 43 spots, but their sales combined, even though DC had more in the top 100, Marvel clobbered them in sales.
Yeah, so I was going to do the top 100 graphic novels. Do you want to talk about just overall sales first? Do you want to hold off overall sales till the end?
Yeah, let's hold off on sales to the end.
Okay. So, top 100 graphic novels. This is a list that I always like a little better because it's got more variety in it. So much variety this year, in fact, that for the first time since we started doing these top 100 graphic novel sales...
No, I'm showing you that mine is color-coded.
I know, it's very smart. You did a good job with this. This is the first time that we have not had a Brian K. Vaughan graphic novel at the top of the charts. I think since we started doing these lists. It's always been Saga or Paper Girls.
Wow.
But since there was not a new volume of Saga to come out in 2019, and since Paper Girls is kind of not, sales-wise, I think it's still selling well, but there's stuff that sells better than it now because of where we are as a store.
So wait, you're saying if Brian K. Vaughan isn't writing, there's room for women creators?
Yes, it's true. Our number 1 graphic novel for the year was Kid Gloves, Lucy Knisley's new graphic novel.
9 months of controlled chaos.
Yeah, we had a Lucy Knisley signing, which she was very gracious to give some time from all of her whirlwind book tour for Kid Gloves to spend some time at Challengers in Bucktown. She gave a very nice presentation, signed a whole bunch of books, did beautiful sketches for people, and on top of that, created an incredible graphic novel that we could sell consistently for the rest of the year. And as a result, it's our number 1 graphic novel of the year. It's not just because of her being there, but her being there definitely helped us move a few extra copies of that book. Number 2 for the year, Mr. Miracle. Pretty much what we'd expected once we saw how Mr. Miracle was coming out in comics form. Vision is a perennial seller for us for Tom King. So with Mr. Miracle being kind of a spiritual sequel to it, we thought when that thing comes out in a graphic novel, we're going to sell that thing like crazy.
Yeah, and so there's Tom King again helping us with the number 2 graphic novel of the year.
For sure. Number 3, Teen Titans Raven. Again, another one we had an event for.
I'm just going to cut to the chase and say that in our top 39 graphic novels, 6 of them are ones we had events for.
Sure. I think some of them I would argue had more of an impact than others. For example, I'll skip ahead a little bit, but number 6 is Let's Make Ramen. We were already selling tons of copies of that book before we had Sarah come in. So that was not a like launch week sort of thing where most of the copies were sold at that event. It was a thing where it was nice of her to come in. It was very great of her to spend some time at the store, but we were already selling that book on the merits of it before she had come in.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to say that. It was just a thing. But also like Dear Justice League, we sold great before the event.
Sure.
And the event didn't really move that many.
Teen Titans Raven, though, I can't remember. I think that one did pretty well for us. The attendance was great. I can't remember how the sales were.
Yeah, well, we did half of what we thought we would do, to be honest.
Sure.
That was still a good number.
Number 4 blows my mind. Infidel, a book that did not come out in 2019.
No, it came out in 2018.
But is such a consistent seller for us in horror graphic novels, because that's one that nearly anytime someone's like, I want a good horror graphic novel, we just go, have you read Infidel? And they pick up Infidel, and they
I do that all the time, even if they don't ask for horror.
Yeah, you should not have given it to that 4-year-old. I think it's super inappropriate.
Look, I think that kid is going to want to read something that they can sink their teeth into.
Probably right. Literally, because their teeth are coming in.
They'll come out.
Number 5, Paper Girls Volume 1. Weird to me that was the highest charting Brian K. Vaughan book. I know there's, I think, an Amazon series for Paper Girls coming out, but I don't think that caused it.
No.
I feel like it's just people had reached an end of the road with Saga, and we're like, what else? And we went, did you read Paper Girls? Because that's the natural other Brian K. Vaughan book to read if you like Saga. So I think it might have been that this year, where it's just filling the void for people who don't have a Saga book. Number 6, again, Let's Make Ramen, the Sarah Beacon illustrated ramen cookbook that so many people who don't read comics who were in the store were like, a ramen cookbook. And we heard from a bunch of people that they ended up making their own ramen. So it is a successful cookbook.
And nobody brought ramen in for us.
Unfortunately.
Nobody.
Number 7.
Not even Sarah Beacon.
Number 7, Monstrous Volume 1. Number 8, not a huge surprise considering the discussion around it on the televisions this year. Watchmen came in at number 8. Number 9.
Still, the fact that Watchmen sells to this day.
Apparently there's still people who have not read Watchmen. I wouldn't believe it, but I saw it with my own eyes. Number 9, Die Volume 1. Number 10, Gideon Falls Volume 1. The rest of the chart, a lot of Volume 1s.
Any more surprised by them being there than Infidel? That's a...
Die and Gideon Falls?
Gideon Falls and Die and Monsters didn't come out in this year.
Honestly, books like Die and Gideon Falls are what I'd like to see near the top of the chart.
Sure.
They're relatively recent series that not everyone's reading. So it's the sort of stuff I would expect people to be picking up and enjoying in graphic novels. It's a little frustrating when the top of the chart is things like Paper Girls, because it's like, it's great because there's a series, but it's also over, and I'd like to see people more engaged with the newer stuff in the industry, because that, to me, speaks of a healthier industry than people who are just like, nothing good has come out in the last 5 years. I don't like seeing that. You know?
Yeah.
I don't like seeing that sort of stuff. I like those books to sell well, but I'd like them to sell less well than brand new comic books that people are excited about. So yeah, I like seeing things like Kid Gloves and Mr. Miracle and Die and Gideon Falls, and then going further down the list, Isola and Immortal Hulk. Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me came in at number 19. That's great.
You know what's really good about that book, especially?
What's that?
The art.
Interesting. I don't know if I remember the artist on that. What was their name?
I believe their name is Rosemary Valeria O'Connell.
Oh, neat. Okay.
And her art is clean and crisp, and we should really do something with her.
She's a talented creator. We'd be lucky to. Huh.
Clocking in at number 15, if I may.
You may.
Is our first all-ages book of the list.
There's a bunch.
Our sidekick club. There are 25. A full 1/4 of this list are books only found in the sidekick room. Not YA. Mm-hmm. Not like, the DC Zoom books, which don't exist anymore.
Yes.
Or DC Inc. Which one is which?
Inc. Inc. is the one that we would not have.
Okay.
Zoom would be the ones we do.
Just
like
the
Justice League.
25 kids' books in here.
I haven't checked, but I feel like that's probably a high score. For
it is, yeah.
As far as how many we've had on the top 100 list, it's been
that's my point. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, did you?
And it's not all Dogman. Only two. Only two Dogmans.
Or all Reina
made the list. Yeah. And Amulet #1.
Yeah.
A book we've been selling for 11 years.
Of which there are 8 volumes?
8 volumes. This book...
Yeah, Amulet was the one.
11 years,
That's
man!
Cool.
That's amazing!
That's a lot of years.
Yeah, Reina is the second highest charting all-ages book with Guts.
Her new Guts book.
Which we knew was going to sell well for us.
Sure.
Honestly, I think it underperformed.
Yeah,
but that's because her books always will for us.
Yeah, we are going to be the 4th most likely place someone buys a copy of a Reina Telgemeier graphic novel. They are getting it so many other places than us that I'm happy to scoop up whatever crumbs are left over from that. That series.
It's three Dogmans, not.
Okay.
not 2.
Yeah, a
Free
lot
Dogman.
of the stuff in here for the all ages stuff. A lot of little golden books.
A lot of little golden books, which first time in the list.
Yeah,
But I mean, to be fair, we did expand our little golden book
Sure.
selection.
and as a businessman, I look at that and go, we sold a lot of $5 graphic novels.
Yeah, exactly.
Does not mean that much to me. But it's cool that people are engaging with those and they're picking them up. I mean, it definitely
They
tells
almost
us...
don't fit the definition of graphic novels for us.
Yeah. We
whatever.
sell storybook stuff, though, so that's
Yeah.
fine. And it stuff like that's an indication of, like, oh, in 2020 we should probably expand even larger the little golden book selection that we have, because clearly there is a big market there that we are finding out. A lot of the Marvel Superheroes Adventure books... yeah, so the
2 of these, though,
The
are
largest
erroneously listed on this
what's that?
because they were sold to the creator.
Oh, which one?
The
I tried to exclude those as much as I could.
Did you?
There's a few I dropped.
wasn't. Oh, did you? Did the ones that were for Deanna Kibblesmith?
I dropped Lockjaw. I dropped
Okay.
Quantum and Woody. I dropped...
He did a Marvel superhero, the two Wakanda behind.
No,
No, that wasn't his.
no.
Oh,
I
all right.
don't think so. I mean, because those are selling commensurate with the other Marvel Superheroes Adventure
Okay.
ones. Those books just sell. Stuff I was excited to see on here. Obviously, again, Laura Dean keeps breaking up with me. Charting in the top 20 is awesome. I think it's a great book. I love seeing it on there. Anna Sunbeam coming in at 28 was awesome. Are You Listening kind of is not doing as much for us as Anna Sunbeam did, and I wonder if that's because our store's a little bit more genre oriented. So a sci-fi romance like Anna Sunbeam is more engaging, I think, than something like a little kind of magical realism road trip.
Well, also
Like, Are You Listening?
don't forget that it was.
It just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it, but still,
Here's the thing that happened today.
Uh-huh.
Someone was looking for Got His Ass Dressed #1, which we haven't had for a while. So I went into the system. Oh, the system thinks we have 2.
is it not in the humor section?
It is no volumes 2 and volume 3 are.
Oh,
There's no volume 1.
oh, jeez.
And we haven't had a volume 1 in a while.
I guess that's why.
Yeah.
Outer Darkness Volume 1 came in at number 31, which is mostly me hand selling it as much as I possibly can because I
Yeah.
think it's great. So that's nice to see.
There's some things where, like, House of X and Powers of 10 came in at 27.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man Life Story came in at 36.
Strange Planet came in at 49.
Strange Planet came in at 49. And Little Bird came in somewhere else. But these are books that just came out.
Yeah, Little Bird's at 82.
82. Like, these are ones that we sold great for us over the last month. But House and Powers came out December 11th.
Yeah,
And it's already 27 on the list.
yeah. And we've had trouble keeping it in stock because of the holidays. Of
Yeah.
how long it takes us to get shipments in, and it's like
Strange Planet just came out. Yeah, like so the Spider-Man Life Story,
yeah.
like a month before Christmas.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff on here is going to be stuff that's movies and TV shows or stuff that's been optioned. Like there's a bunch of, like we sold Eternals because no one knows anything about the Eternals beyond there's a movie coming out. So.
Yeah, but the reason that Eternals charts at number 68 is because you decided to put it on the front table because there's a movie coming out.
Sure, and we do leave a little section for that. So there can be things like Watchmen and Eternals, and Lock and Key will be on the table.
The Boys.
Yeah, The Boys, which Boys Volume 1, I just passed it by, I think.
I don't recall it.
Number 59 on the chart.
A book that's been out for years.
Yeah, Captain Marvel, Earth's Mightiest Hero comes in at 60 because we had it on the table for when the Captain Marvel movie came out.
Yeah, Preacher Book 1 because there was a TV show.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff like that where it's, we're happy to draft off of the success of that media property. That's fine. I don't know if there's anything else in here that I really wanted to call out because it's just...
My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies is at 91.
Yeah.
That came out in 2018.
That's true, yeah. The softcover just came out.
Yeah, that came out before the new Criminal series came out.
Anything specifically from the chart beyond... Because I wanted to talk about the percentages. for
Sure,
categories,
here's
but-
my takeaways.
Yeah, please.
Like I said, there were 25 Sidekicks titles, 34 Image books, whereas Image was only 9 of the other one. There are 34 of this one, and dominating the
people
top
only
10.
read Image comics and graphic novels,
Yeah.
Patrick. That's pretty much where we're at now as an industry.
We only had one manga title make the list,
Yeah.
but it made it in multiple places.
Yeah, My Hero Academia.
My Hero Academia.
We'll talk about this in a minute, but I think manga as a category is very wide, but not very deep.
Yeah.
While there is stuff like My Hero Academia and previously stuff like
One Punch Man,
Tokyo Ghoul, Death Note, and perennials like Akira, and some of the Junji Ito stuff. There isn't like with the comics list, it's very like everyone's reading Batman, everyone's reading Brian K. Vaughan, everyone's reading X-Men. With the manga category, it's so diverse that nothing's really going to chart for us in the top 100 because we're only selling a few copies of dozens of titles.
Yeah.
Because there isn't this kind of, monolithic hit book for us with manga. It's just, there's people reading all different genres of stuff, and they're just looking for whatever looks good to them, and they may not buy any more volumes than what they picked up because they just bought that one, and next time they'll buy something completely different.
This Batman White Knight, is that the soft cover or the hardcover? Soft cover, I'm assuming?
Probably the soft cover. We didn't sell that many of the hardcover.
And then Nimona clocks in at number 90. That book's been out for a couple years.
Yeah, Nimona is one we kept on the table for a little bit because new seasons of She-Ra were coming out, and people kept asking about She-Ra. And there won't be a She-Ra book for another month or two. So Nimona was a thing of like, hey, if you liked She-Ra, this is by the woman who designed the new She-Ra show, who's in charge of it. So if you liked what you were seeing with the characters in there, here's Nimona, which is doing kind of some similar stuff as far as like goofy, but also emotionally deep.
We had someone in today who noticed that Noelle had signed the wall
Oh, yeah.
and said, she was here? Yeah, twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And never again.
For sure.
We will never.
For sure.
Oh my God! I'd love it. Never, probably never going to happen again. Although, if Harper Teen wants to send her out on the road for the
Her
Fire
memoir?
Still Burns,
Yeah.
like, come on, we will do what we can to make that happen. So at the bottom of the list of the top 100 graphic novels that we posted on our website, I did, and I thought I'm like, oh, I'll do that this year, without realizing I also did it for the 2018 graphic novels. I broke it down by our individual categories within the larger department of graphic novels. We rack our books by genre, and so each of those genres is in our computer system, so we're able to see total sales for the year, not just the top 100 that we listed here, but altogether what each category contributed to the larger department of graphic novels. Superhero was the number one category within graphic novels. At 33% of all graphic novel sales were superhero from the superhero section.
Just to put that in context, it's 5 of the top 20 are superheroes, which would make it be like 25% that way.
Yeah. Sci-fi fantasy as a genre, 19%. All ages sidekicks material, 15%. Manga and drama were both 8%. Horror is 7%. Crime mystery, 4%. Humor, 3%. Discount books, that's our half off and $5 graphic novels, 2% of sales. And then art books, which also includes instructional material, 1%. So I like that because those numbers feel diverse enough to me to feel sustainable. It's not one killer category that's supporting everything else. It's stuff where if those numbers shift around a bit, I feel like we're still healthy and we're still growing and we're in a good place. Instead of some other categories where it's like, oh boy, if that stops performing, we're really screwed. These numbers feel good to me. Superheroes being only a third of sales, I like that. I kind of wish it were more, manga and drama and horror, but those numbers are growing as well. I don't know if I had... Do I have that in
a comparison of last year? No, I don't think so.
I can't remember if I had it in this other file. Let me take a look. Okay, so categories for 2018, superheroes was 34%, so it's gone down.
Down by 1.
Sci-fi fantasy was 21%.
Down by 2.
So this is the thing that I remember looking at. Sidekicks was only 13%.
Up by 2. Now keep in mind, sidekicks just means all ages. We're not separating those out by genre.
Right.
Because obviously all the genres exist within the sidekicks.
Same thing for manga.
Yeah.
Drama was 7%. Manga and horror were 6%.
So drama and manga were 8%. Horror was 7%.
Okay, so drama, manga, and horror all went up. Crime mystery was 5% in 2018.
Down to 4%.
And then humor and discount were 3%. Art books were 2%. So those all went down for 2019.
Humor was the same.
Oh, okay.
Humor was 3%.
But discount and art books both went down by 1%.
Yep.
So in general, like the major things are sidekicks became a larger part of the pie. And then drama, manga, and horror did become a bigger part of our sales, which is great. I like seeing that. I would love if a lot of those like top 5 or 6 categories were all like 18%. You know what I mean? Like that would be great if they were all equal.
Sure.
That's never going to happen, but
No.
still.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that,
I mean, if you look at it though, like we have 3 shelves for sci-fi fantasy, we have 7 for superheroes.
Right. Yeah, I tried doing that before. Where I tried to break down the percentages based on how many bookshelves each section got.
Oh, but you can't do that because then you have to measure the individual space used per each one.
Yeah, and I mean, like things like sci-fi fantasy, I'm pretty sure kind of punches above its weight. As far as how little space it takes up and how much it contributes.
Oh, yeah. Whenever I'm restocking and you're piling up the genres, sci-fi fantasy is always the tallest pile or just below superhero.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, again, that's all the image stuff. That's the image graphic novels that are always doing well are things like Saga and Paper Girls and Monstrous.
Hey,
Die
where
and-
does Hillbilly go?
Horror.
Okay.
Hillbilly and Goon both go to horror.
Okay, see, they were on the shelf under horror, but in the system is sci-fi.
Oh, they shouldn't have been.
Okay, well, they got moved back to sci-fi.
Okay. If you get a chance, you can shift them back to horror and then recategorize them. Okay, so those are
Who
the...
am I to tell the computer? The computer told me.
It's true. So that's it for the stuff we posted on the website. So let's talk overall 2019 categories and sales and stuff. I got a spreadsheet here I'm looking at.
Oh, me too. I don't have... I did print out the pie graphs, and I thought, I can't talk about pie charts.
No, but we can talk
They're
about...
just colors.
We can talk about shifts in departments.
So let me start with how I phrased it on the interwebs yesterday.
Okay.
2019 had some of the best comics ever produced.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, ever produced. Best stuff. 2019, I don't know for a fact, I'd be willing to put money on it, had more comics than any year ever before.
Felt that way.
Yeah. 2019 was probably the hardest year we've had yet selling comics. Understanding the market, what people want, what's coming out. Like, it just got hard to do the job.
Yeah, and we've talked about this to death, and I don't think it's going to change in any significant way in 2020. The amount of people that were coming in buying comics that had no interest in comics as a medium, as a storytelling delivery system, was higher than I remember it being any time in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The amount of people who are just buying covers, not comics, was like, this is demoralizing. So when you see these numbers and it's like, we had our best year ever, such a portion of that was sales where it's like, I don't see a future in selling this person a comic book.
You also just stepped on the punchline
Oh, I'm sorry.
of this whole bit.
Oh, sorry.
It's just about how it's harder than ever before. We had our best year ever. Barely
Yeah.
eked it out. And at no point during this year did it feel like it was anywhere near the best year.
No.
And at no point did I feel like, yeah, we're doing it.
And some of that is
Yet it wound up squeaking by to be the best year we've ever had.
But and to put that in some perspective, it basically it was not until October of this year, October of 2019 was the first month where we pulled ahead of 2018.
Yeah.
So much of that is because of House of X and Powers of 10 and all that X-Men stuff. Not just those books specifically selling, but bringing so many people back into weekly comic buying that had checked out of that part of the hobby, of the experience of reading comics. And like that shifted our year from down, not significantly, but noticeably, to basically flat, a little ahead.
Yeah, it's like, what, 1.35% up?
Yeah.
But it's up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not down. That's great. But
Yeah.
it's up in a way where it's like...
Literally, if we ever talk about it, we're going to say it's flat.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's actually up by 1.35%.
by a small amount of money. So specifically, again, like the first 9 months of the year were varying degrees of not great. They weren't all losing money, but the to get to the months that were catastrophic, because we talked about this before, but for people who don't remember, including me, April of this year was a shit show. It was horrible. It was like a week of the month just disappeared.
Yeah.
And there were other months that were not great. Oh, and also June. June was, that was even,
June was a month that like a week was gone.
Yeah, frankly, they both were, but June more than April. But they were both really, really bad, and so as a result, the rest of the year, every month was up, but they had to be up huge amounts just to dig us out of the other months, and they were, and that's great. But it's like, how much better could a year have been if those 2 months didn't nearly put us out of business? Like, they were so
as
bad.
I like saying, shit the bed.
Shit the bed. It's a new expression Patrick made up.
It's not true.
I don't think that's right. So those months bad, other months good. It all ended up balancing out for the year, but in a way where, that's not great for our cash flow to have months where we're kind of dying, and then a bunch of months where we're paying back all those things that went wrong. Specific categories for the year that were up over the year before. The big ones were Marvel. Marvel was up 16% over 2018.
That's massive. And again,
when you talk about a category
Jonathan
as big as Marvel, for it to go up 16% is a lot of extra money that was made. So that was great. Card games went up 26%, which not a huge category for us. Card games for 2019 accounted for 3% of our business. But going up 26% for a category that, honestly, we don't devote a lot of space or energy to is awesome. That's like free money.
You call it card games, but it's actually gaming.
Sorry, yeah. The category that we have in the system is still CCGs. But in general, games is kind of what we refer to it as now, because it's
Dungeons and Dragons as well.
And dice and all that sort of paraphernalia that goes along with it. But that's really all we stock, is just maybe 10 D&D books, a couple boxes of D&D games, dice, and then Magic cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards, just packs. We don't do single cards or anything like that. We don't do board games anymore. And for that category,
some might say we never did.
But that's the thing. To have trimmed those lines down and then to do 26% better is like, one, it's an indictment of how poorly we considered the category in 2018. But two, again, it's like kind of free money. Because it's like, we worked less hard and made more money.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome place to be in. The other categories that went up were kind of trivial amounts. DC went up 3%. Not a lot of money. Supplies went up 7%, but that's just comic supplies.
I think the supplies went up because we have so many more of the graphic boxes.
Maybe, and those retail for more than the regular boxes. And the bag tax went up 2%.
2% more people needed bags this year.
2% more bags this year.
You people that hate the environment.
The categories that went down: graphic novels down slightly, dropped 1%. Still a bit of it's a drop, but it's not super troubling so much as like, well, you didn't have any new volumes of Saga that came out, and you didn't have any other Brian K. Vaughan series that took its place to come out. Speaking of other publishers, which is everyone but Marvel and DC publishing single issue comics,
down 8%.
8%. Kind of noticeable. Again, when we were talking about the top 100 comics that came out, just a few Image ones, and even then, Spawn 300 and 301, Paper Girls,
Little Bird
that we pushed really hard on to make that book, sell what it sold. There was nothing else that was coming along from any other publisher that was charting in a way that was people excited about the book. I mean, there's things we recommended and there's things we pushed, but nothing that broke through in any sizable way. Back issues dropped 14%. Again, not our hugest category. Back issues this year accounted for 1% of our sales. So a 14% drop. More just a curiosity. Again, it's a category we don't really put a lot of energy into. It doesn't take up a ton of space.
Do you have those percentages somewhere?
I do. I'll get to them in a minute, probably. Okay. The big ones for us, the big old drops, the ones where we're like, this is a change in how we stock things. T-shirts and posters both dropped huge.
T-shirts like we barely ever carry T-shirts, so this
Yeah.
drop is mainly enamel pin sales.
Yeah, pin sales are basically drying
Remember
up.
2 years ago, we're like, enamel pins are huge for us.
And they are. I mean, the category itself is still bigger probably than it was 4 years ago.
Oh, sure.
But the idea of like pins are selling like crazy, buttons are selling like crazy, they're not anymore. That market is kind of drying up. That dropped 25%. Posters dropped 28%.
And that's weird because we still do the same number of poster orders each year,
I guess.
I think.
I mean, I don't know what it could be then, because looking at that number, I'm like, I don't know that we carry posters so much. Maybe
You know
going
what? We're
forward.
out of one of the 9 window prints.
That's probably it.
That's probably it.
Probably it.
Yeah.
Again, those categories. Oh, and also toys dropped 8%. Not great. Again, not a hugest category. When things like Marvel, DC, other publishers, graphic novels, when those drop or gain, it's like noticeable. If it's dropping, we're doing less business, and it's scary. If it goes up, super excited. Feel like we can actually pay our bills now. So to speak to those categories and the size of them, for 2019, our number one department was graphic novels. That's 35% of our sales were graphic novels at Challengers. Marvel, DC, and other publishers collectively are 52% of our sales. That's Marvel is 22% of our sales. DC is 14%. Other publishers are 16%.
What was that total?
52%.
52.
52%.
You sure they're not just DC numbers?
Positive. Back issues are 1% of our sales. Supplies, which is comic and card supplies, 3% of our sales. T-shirts account for 1% of our sales. Posters for this year, 2019, officially became, rounded to the nearest percentage point, 0% of our sales.
Wow.
They dropped from 1% to 0%.
Yep.
Toys are 5%. Card games are 3% of our sales. The shifts this year.
What's bag tax now?
0%. Bags cost 7 cents, and we don't sell that many of them. So the shifts, as far as departments go, as far as like the pie chart of our year's sales, the ones that went, the shifts, graphic novels is 1% less of our sales. Other publishers 1% less. Marvel gained. Marvel single comics went from being 19% of our sales to 22% of our sales. Everything else basically just sort of stayed more or less the same, or went up or down 1 percentage point. So Marvel is basically the only category, looking at this, that became... And games. Games went up 1%. So Marvel and games are the only things that are a bigger part of our business in 2019 than they were in 2018. And games, again, we don't do anything for games. And frankly, looking at those numbers and seeing them go up when we do less does not make me feel like putting more energy into that category. Because when we did, and we gave it more space...
Yeah, we sold less.
We sold less. So I'm not doing that. Yeah, those are... that's the numbers I got.
I was quietly doing math over here. Mm-hmm. We, quote-unquote, sold 4,956 customer bags.
Yeah, do I have a number for the year? I mean, did you...
No, that's it.
That's it, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, look, long form.
That's pretty good, though. That means that based on the number of buyers that we had for the year, that is... What does that work out to?
Do you have that number?
Yeah. Do you want it?
Yeah.
You just want me to say the raw number out loud?
No, I just want you to give it to me later.
I'll give it to you right now if you
Oh,
want.
okay. You can write that down.
Sure.
I mean, it's super secret proprietary information, so we're not going to share
If
it.
anybody else had this number, they could just open a store and put us right out of
Right?
business.
Oh my god, it'd be crazy. Gotcha.
Patrick, anything about any of these numbers that jumped out at you or that you thought was worth discussing?
No, I think that the numbers themselves aren't, it's the numbers don't tell the story of the product or of the people coming in, of the 56,470. Whoops.
Whoops.
Goodness. Also, I wish.
Yeah, that would be great.
I wish.
Please and thank you.
I, of course, always want it to be more.
Sure.
I expect that this exact chart will be what Blue does next year.
Uh-huh.
So Red will be doing that much more.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. I like it. No, I think that's a good amount of information based off of the year.
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
The year.
Yeah, as always, I mean, if I were better at my job, I'd be able to look at that data and draw more conclusions out and be able to do a better job in 2020. But so much of what I feel of the industry is me trying my best to sell other people's projects becomes a thing of like, I can't plan towards that.
No,
You know?
can't. You can, to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and pick the right books and put them in the right people's hands and stock the right amount of things, but I can't create a hit book. If no one's publishing anything that's... Like, we talked about it before, not on this podcast, I don't think, but in general, we've talked about Infidel as a hit horror graphic novel. It's been our spotlight horror graphic novel on our front tables for a while because nothing else has come out to replace it. And it's great that we can keep selling Infidel, but I would love to replace that with a fresher book that we could, do just as well with. But there just hasn't been one. There hasn't been a horror graphic novel that came out that is as engaging.
It's not as if we're just going to take anything and put it there.
No.
Like, Little Bird did so well for us because it was good, not just because we recommended it. We're
Right.
not going to abuse our power. We're not going to be like, hey, what clunker can we shove off on people this time?
Yeah, I mean,
pretending it's good.
And beyond just the reluctance to do that because of how short-sighted it is and how difficult it becomes to sell future volumes of books if all you're selling people is junk. Also, I don't think we have that ability. Like, if something is not good, we can't make people buy it.
No.
We can point to something and go, oh, you might like this, or oh, I like this, or whatever. But if they pick it up and it's not good, that's it. They're just going to say no. They're not just going to buy it because we asked them to or told them to.
That being said, good books that you should be reading are Hawkeye Freefall. Not just because Matthew Rosenberg did a thing for us, but because it's a fun book.
It's a fun comic book, yeah.
Suicide Squad by Tom Taylor. I won't stop championing that book. I really enjoy it.
Sure.
I thought the Doctor Strange Surgeon Supreme #1 was real good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was a fun take on some existing Marvel characters. I feel like there was more stuff I read recently. I'm finally starting to catch up on comics.
Sure.
So I'm happier about that. But then it's neat when you're ringing somebody up who is got like 3 or 4 issues of a book, and I can say, oh, I'm caught up on that one.
Yay.
Can't say that for everything.
Yeah.
If people bought what we like, we would sell a lot more copies of Superman Smashes the Klan.
Yeah, we don't even carry Knights of the Dinner Table for the Shelf in either store.
Yeah, right? Right.
There's plenty of books where if I could just make people buy Kaiju Max, I would make people buy Kaiju Max, but all I can do is recommend it, and if it doesn't click for them, or if it's not quite what they're looking for at that point, I can't
Then
do
they
anything
should
about
get
it.
out!
Oh, jeez.
Wait, no, that's not right.
Jeez.
There was... I don't remember. It was... I yelled at Gina a few times today. But one time I did it as I was walking to the back room. And I forgot there was a younger gentleman looking at the manga section. And I said something like... I yelled like, "No, Gina, that's not how it works!" when I was right by him and the kid jumped.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, "Hey, I did not mean to yell. I'm very sorry."
Whoops. That was my outside voice.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
You're very quiet. I forgot you were here. You know who I haven't forgotten who's here?
Who's that, Patrick?
Our patrons.
What?
Dal, it's
more
a
than
brand
one.
new year. And
Double
we have,
count. Double count.
We have, okay, I will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Already
8,
more than one.
9,
Crazy.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 patrons that are in the, let's name the patron level, the say my name level. So I'm going to say their names while you completely tune me out.
It's a one-person job.
If you had it memorized, we could both do it. Matt Armstrong, Ryan Alcock, Robert Burns, Mitchell Davies, Mike Lee, Jose Villagomez, Thomas Nagovin, who called me the other night and said, "Hey, I'm just listening to the new podcast. What's this about a second store?" The Springham family, Artie White, Michael Romanenko, Morgan Kaiju Perry, George Brower, Jacob Sorelli, Robert Lane, Christina McChrystal, Marcuson Nasso, Mark Hammond, Ryan Hecht, Chris Burton, brand new patron and second Boom employee on the list, Arun Singh. Thanks, Arun. And Bridget Neville.
Thanks,
Bridget
everybody.
Neville at the top of the list because she's going above and beyond.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks to all of our patrons, even the ones we didn't name, the ones at different levels, the ones who make their own levels, but just keep it under the point where we won't say their name.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a patron.
Thanks.
We appreciate it, and it honestly makes us keep doing this, even when Dal doesn't want to.
But I still do it.
Legitimate question for someone today. Is Dal playing a character on the podcast? I said, no more of a character than he plays in real life, meaning if he is, I am not in on it.
Uh-huh.
The one-word reply, impressive.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So yeah, we do have Ryan Brown coming in to do a signing at both Challengers locations
Not one or two, but two.
on Wednesday, January 29th, from 4 to 5, let's say 20-ish, in River North, and then from 6 to 7, let's say 15, in Bucktown.
Yep.
For the brand new release that day, Quantum and Woody.
Number one.
Number
With-
one.
With.
An exclusive cover
Yep.
with a store tour cover that will have Challengers somewhere on the back cover.
I guess. I think someplace.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't think I've seen it. And then we also, at Bucktown, will have Damon Hampton on February 22nd, which is a Saturday, and the co-creator of his book, whose name I do not know, nor do I know what the name of their book is.
Hopefully you'll learn it before the signing.
But before the signing, it is, as we talked about last week, and we talk about every year, it is our sale, our one store-wide sale of the year.
Yeah.
I love you, but I've chosen comics. 25% off of basically everything in the store, except, new this week, held items, consignment items, or previously discounted items. That's a very, very small section. It's
Yeah.
basically everything else.
Yeah.
Comics, graphic novels, action figures, so long as they're not new, and the other things we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you spend over $100 after discount before tax, you get a free t-shirt. We've talked about it last week as well. But we were talking last week about...
Can we talk about the dates? Can we talk about the dates? February 7th to the 13th?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Uh-huh. Starting on a Friday?
Friday, I believe.
Friday going to
through
Thursday. Yeah. Which is honestly the best way for it to work out for us.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah.
And we were talking last week about, we knew who was doing this shirt, but we hadn't had the design yet, so we were hoping we were going to get it. We actually got it before last week's episode aired, but after it was recorded. And it's great.
It's really great.
It's really great.
It looks good on blue. It looks good on red.
All right, and you'll get to see it. It won't be the header image for this episode,
No.
like I thought it was going to be. It's not going to be. It's going to be a
separate social
pie
media
chart.
post.
Yeah, we'll do it on Monday when we put up the information for the event, and we'll show the image. But
And put up banners at the stores.
eagle-eared listeners may have already figured it out because we gave you the clues earlier in the episode.
Did.
This is a creator we've been trying to do something with since early 2017, and I know this because I have the emails to prove it. Finally, we can do something with Rosemary Valero O'Connell. It's this shirt.
Yep. The artist of Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me is doing a sale t-shirt for Challengers in 2020.
We love it, and you will too. You'll want to have a red one and a blue one.
Yep.
If those flyers are any indication, man, the blue one looks so great.
I think that I'm going to need 2 shirts.
I'm
Two shirts
sorry.
this year.
I'm sorry.
I will put myself on the list at River North, and then I will put myself on the list at Bucktown.
I've already done a list for both those stores, and you're only on one of them. It's weird.
Well, at least there's a few days I'll be working in River North by myself. So
That's a trap.
I will make sure.
For me to make this not happen, I'd have to work all the time in River North.
You have to work both stores for 7 days. Good luck. Let me know how that goes.
See what I can do. Yeah, it's a great one. It's going to be a good.
Pretty good this year.
You're gonna want multiple copies of it. And there you have it. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155.
And in the River North neighborhood of Chicago at 750 North Franklin Street, number 103, 312-285-2252.
Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.